Did the Eagles escape with a win on Sunday against the Saints, or did they earn the win against the Saints? I think it's a matter of perspective. We're going to discuss that. Kellen Moore spoke. Vic Fangio spoke yesterday. Some roster adjustments made that tell some stories, and a couple different Philadelphia media opinion stories that have come out yesterday that I want to pick your brain for opinions on. Trending in the AM, we're live, taking your thoughts and opinions in 60 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Edge of Philly Sports. We're live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, you know the drill. Wherever you're watching, whichever platform you are watching on, do me that favor. Hit that like button, that share button, that subscribe button, that retweet, follow button. Basically, hit any and all buttons, whatever you could do to spread the word and get as many people out and involved in this show. Help them find this show as best they can, because it's the number one sports morning show on the dial or online in the Philadelphia market. And we've got lots to talk about today. And yes, Anthony, I love you, my man. Hey, whatever I can use to find a good title for a show when you're creating as many shows as I am, I'll do it. We'll get into that in a second. But guys, I would greatly appreciate that like, share, subscribe. I'm your host, Phil Stiefel. At Beard and Knowledge on all social media platforms. You can find me there wherever you are. And we got lots to talk about today. Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio, and kind of Michael Clay too, but who pays attention to the special teams coach, all spoke with the media as they always do on Tuesdays after a Sunday game. So we are going to dive into each and everything that they had to say. Some good things, some bad things, some things, some roster moves from the Eagles. I've got media things to cover. Because there are three very interesting topics brought up from Philly medias that I agree with some of them and I disagree with others on things that went down in the last 48 hours around here. I want to talk about Micah Parsons and that nitwit and what he's doing. So we've got lots to get into. But yes, the title of the show is, did the Eagles escape or earn their win against the New Orleans Saints on Sunday? And we're going to talk Phillies too, by the way. Phillies are always on the agenda as we hunt closer to October. And where does this title come from? And yes, my man Anthony DiBona right here. He's been on the show before. DiBona PFN, writer for Pro Football Network, Eagles writer for Pro Football Network. I was reading his latest article yesterday, and I believe it was the first line in his article said that Eagles escaped from the Saints with a victory. And it got me thinking, was the victory an escape? Did they just get away with it? Or did they earn it? And I think it's a matter of perspective on how you look to win. It's just like a matter of perspective when we spent a whole day talking about Jalen Hurts again yesterday. And I got more Jalen Hurts stats. Just so you know, for the anti-Hurts haters out there, I got my stats for that conversation today. Got an interesting angle to take there today. But it's a matter of perspective. The New Orleans Saints were listed as a very good team. A lot of Eagles fans and fans across the NFL thought the Eagles stood no chance against the Saints. Yes, we only scored 3 points. We scored 0 points in the first 3 quarters of that football game. Some play calling issues, some decision making issues, etc. A bad interception from Jalen Hurts, a bad fumble from him. But mostly they moved the ball pretty effectively. If the team you beat is a very well respected and good team, high quality football team, why is it escaping with a win and not earning it? It's not like the New Orleans Saints were rolling over and playing dead. It's not like the Saints tried to, well, they did try to give us the game to an extent. Wrong choice of words there. It's not like the Saints were the Carolina Panthers and we barely beat them. The Saints are a playoff caliber team, not a title contending team, but a playoff contending team. They weren't just going to hand it to us. But yet, some people feel, and this is not calling Anthony out. Anthony knows I mean no harm by this. Not some people just feel like it wasn't a good win. There's ugly. We talked a lot about ugly wins last year, and a lot of people think that Sunday was an ugly win like last year, and for some reason, I don't think it was an ugly win. We used to talk. A win's a win, no matter it is. However you win, we realized last year that backfired on us because those ugly wins ended up turning the tides to a lot of ugly losses last year. When you're beating the New Orleans Saints, who have put up 91 points the previous 2 weeks, who put up over 400 plus yards each of the previous 2 weeks, you hold them to 12 points. You hold them to 200 and, 10, 15 yards. That was like several pages ago in notes. I don't even know where those notes are anymore. Don't even have the box score up anymore. But you get what I'm saying. Is it an ugly win? Or is it a hard-fought, earned win? So, details matter. And in my mind, the detail using the word earned versus escaped devalues, in my opinion, what the Eagles were able to accomplish on Sunday, which is beat a team that most people predicted we'd lose to, beat a team after a tough loss, beat a team after a short week. And I just want to make sure we don't devalue what the Eagles were able to accomplish on Sunday. Let's see what some comments say. Earn's got nothing to do with it. Well, I mean, it does. If earn's got nothing to do with a K1, then what would you describe it as? I always see you, Mad Chatter, whenever you're here. You're not always here. Phil's best thumbnail work. Yeah, you like that thumbnail? Yeah, I'm kind of switching up the thumbnails a little bit lately. Jason Peters is a good kid. Who? F in the chat for Covey. Yeah, Britton Covey. Out 6 weeks at least. Good morning, Duck. How are you today? AJ screwing me in fantasy. We're going to get into AJ Brown because I think in AJ Brown's situation, there's an interesting conversation that needs to be had there. Should he play? Shouldn't he play? Will he play? Will he not play? And some of the roster moves the Eagles have made yesterday kind of will dictate some of my opinions on what's going on in that situation. New Orleans is a good team with both a good defense and offense. Those people who are thinking Saints are the Saints of last season. Yeah, and I think the word devaluing the win by using escape versus earn. I don't know if it was necessarily one of those ugly wins of last year. I think we earned a hard-fought win to teams that were battling out to the last second. If it was an ugly first half, but the second half was solid, I think that's another good way to say it. It was an ugly first half, mainly because of the 2 turnovers and because of a lot of bad decision-making from Nick Sirianni. Ugly win. Ugly win was also last year's almost sack. There's a difference there. There's a difference between bad wins and gritty wins. Look at this. Look at this. Sorry, Anthony, if you're still watching. I got people jumping in here with some really good opinions on it. This is a great way to put it, Peanut. It wasn't a bad win. It was a gritty win. It was a identity developing win. There's another way to put it. Gritty wins develop an identity for you as a team. And that's what it was. I love this, Peanut. Great work on that comment there. The defense played like they should have been playing from the beginning. Now the offense needs to kick into gear and score more. I mean, they didn't score a lot of points, Joshua, but the offense is moving the ball pretty regularly and pretty easily right now. Jalen needs to trust all his options, especially not Brown and Smitty era. I kind of feel like A.J. Brown is trending towards playing. We'll get into that in a little bit. If the pass isn't working, run the tank. Yeah, the fact that Saquon Barkley didn't get a rush in the first quarter, I know there was only 2 drives. That's unfortunate. Not necessary. Not good. And then after Saquon Barkley's touchdown, the next drive, I think after his first touchdown, he went like 10 plays, 10 plays without touching the ball again. You can't have huge gaps where Saquon Barkley is not touching the ball, whether the offense is humming or not humming, just so you know. Jack Stoll, ready to go. Jack Stoll is now part of the active roster. He was signed off the practice squad to the active roster, which is interesting because he still had 2 more call-ups or, elevations left in his, you can only elevate someone from the practice squad so many times, and they skipped his last 2 elevations and put him, there. So that's something interesting with the wide receiver situation. I understand what you're saying 100%. My choice of words was more so because of how difficult the Eagles made it upon themselves. And Anthony, your article is great. And if you guys aren't following Anthony's work, he writes some great work, not just Eagles, NFL. I know this year he's more focused on the Eagles than the rest of the NFL. And I know I'm just picking out one line, the first line of an entire article, and I get that. They made it difficult on themselves. But here's my counter to that, Anthony. Did they make it difficult on themselves? Or did the Saints just make it difficult on them? I was listening to Kellen Moore talk, and I know when Nick Sirianni talked on Monday, he takes bullets for everybody. It wasn't Jalen Hurts' fault. It wasn't Devontae Smith's fault on the interception. It was his fault because, whatever. It's always the coach's fault. Well, Kellen Moore said no. He said something very interesting about that interception. Why can't we just, I'm paraphrasing what he said, why can't we just give the Saints credit and the Saints defensive back credit on that interception for making a great play on the ball? So by saying the Eagles made it hard on themselves, yeah, if that was the Eagles versus the Carolina Panthers and that was the outcome, sure, they made it difficult on themselves. They were playing a really strong defense that had given up less than 30 points the first 2 weeks of the season. Held the vaunted Dallas Cowboys to 19. So sometimes you've got to give credit to the other team for having a good game plan and playing well as well. Was it the Honey Badger that had the interception, I think? Give him credit for making a great play on the ball, breaking on the ball, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe some of it was on that. And that's the thing, like, in my opinion, by using escaped or saying the Eagles made it difficult on themselves, you're devaluing what they were capable of doing against a very good Saints team. You gotta value the opponent first before you make that decision on what you say. And the thing is, maybe I valued the Saints a little higher than you did, but I also thought the Eagles. I did think the Eagles were going to win that game. It just comes down to the opponent. Jason Peters is 42-year-old. I know who he is, Jason Peters. I didn't know he was still in the NFL. We got some interesting hot takes. I got a hot take on Mike Missinelli. I got a hot take on Spike Geskin. And I got a hot take on John Marks and Brandon Lee Gowton. We'll get into them later in the show. I got a lot of things to discuss with the media from just yesterday alone. I don't know which ones are hot takes. I don't know which ones are not. So we'll get into that. I was just playing on the line from Unforgiven. Oh, man, it's been a long time since I've seen Unforgiven, K1. Long time. My bad. I'm back. The Orlando good time. Oh, were you in Orlando? Good for you. Good for you. What's up, Bruce Bryce Harper? How you doing this morning? Hearing so many that don't like Nick. There are a lot of people calling for Nick's head. Then you hear Dallas Goedert talking on Pat McAfee's show. You hear what Kellen Moore has to say. The players seem to like, respect, and still have the back of Nick Sirianni. And whether the fans and media like Nick Sirianni or not, it don't matter. As long as the players have his back, and as long as the players respect him, DCP, that's all that matters, in my opinion. Calcaterra is good catching tight end, but just can't block. 1,000% duck. That is one of the reasons why Jack Stoll, but you could have left him on the practice squad and elevated him. Okay, so the Eagles yesterday made a couple roster moves. Jack Stoll got elevated from the practice, got signed off the practice squad to the active roster. John Ross got added, former wide receiver from training camp, got added to the practice squad. Paris Campbell, you can only elevate one more time from the practice squad before having to put him on the roster. Jack Stoll still had 2 more options, whatever you want to call them, however you want to describe them. So that tells me there's a slight chance A.J. Brown is trending towards playing on Sunday, which I am not a fan of. You got the bye next week. You give A.J. Brown a hand. I hate hamstring injuries in sports. I don't like to push it with hamstring injuries. In any sport, I always like to err with hamstrings on the side of caution than rushing them back. If A.J. Brown is 85% healthy, I'm not playing him. But those moves kind of tell me maybe A.J. Brown plays. Paris Campbell will be activated, and they'll use his last thing. Who knows what will happen? Or maybe they'll keep him on the practice squad for another week and elevate John Ross. If A.J. Brown can play and save that Campbell elevation for another week. But yeah, the Grand Calcaterra, the improved blocker that we heard throughout training camp, it's just not the case. We earned that win as we shut down a big offense, and I think we played well. I mean, just look at Alvin Kamara's numbers the first 2 weeks versus what we did to him. We earned that. We earned that. And we're going to get into the defense in a little bit because Vic Fangio did speak. Most tight ends don't block a lick. That's not true. Someone like George Kittle, I mean, he's a fantastic blocking tight end. Dallas Goedert's an okay blocking tight end. I'm trying to remember Brent Selleck, whether he was a good blocking tight end or not. I know Chad Lewis was a good blocking tight end. They escaped fire Nick, to be honest. I just don't get the fire Nick Sirianni thing. I understand why people think it, but I don't know why even waste your time thinking about it. Because Nick Sirianni is not going to get fired, Thomas. Not now. Not later this year. It's just not going to happen. It would have taken an utter 0-6 start disaster for that to even be remotely on the table. And I don't understand the bring Bill Belichick in narrative, Thomas, either. I think football's kind of passed him by. I don't need no 76-year-old guy coming in here who's lost clue with how football is run. Never finished Quick and the Dead. I like Quick and the Dead. I'm a big fan of it. It's awkward. It's tough. The different camera angles and all. It's weird. The videography, I guess is what you would say, is weird to me, but I do enjoy it. It's a great cast in that movie. Blocking is key for a tight end, which is ironic considering until the 80s and the West Coast offense, the tight end was just blocking and run blocking. True. It still was a bad call. Devontae has not shown that he can fight through contact. He just isn't that type of player. Absolutely. If anything, I've said it before, Anthony, this week, that interception was more on Kellen Moore for calling that play, if he called the play. Because as we know, Nick Sirianni calls plays occasionally. Kellen Moore kind of deflected that a little bit more. He handled those questions more coach-like, is the term I'm using. Nick Sirianni was very defensive when he was pressed about topics like that on Monday. Kellen Moore took them all head on, but sounds like he went to the school of, Nick Saban or Bill Belichick. Whatever. It's a collaboration. It is what it is, blah, blah, blah. Kellen Moore sounded like a head coach when he was talking yesterday, unlike Nick Sirianni, who was like kind of getting chippy with the media. But yeah, it was a bad play call. I blame the play call equally to Jalen Hurts making the throw or not making the throw. The Saints' defensive game plan was great in the first half. The offense adjusted in the second. That's what good teams do. Everyone has a plan if they get punched in the face. Absolutely. Absolutely. Judd is even watch day. Today is going to be a big day. It's always a big day when Mr. Judd's in the house. Always, always. Jason Peters is still playing. I thought he retired. Yeah, that's news to me, Duck. I had no idea. Shout out to the Book of Knowledge. The Book of Knowledge. Maybe the Stash of Knowledge. We're still trying to come up with it. Twitter doesn't seem to be interested in the Stash of Knowledge challenge. ECP. Is it EC3 or ECP? I don't think those hot takes will beat yesterday's hot take. Is better than Joe. Well, I could say Jalen Hurts is as good as Josh Allen. I could. For all the Jalen Hurts haters, I put my stats together. I have a very interesting narrative on that. But we'll get into it. We'll get into it later. Yeah. I'm reading a lot of comments. I can't look up here and see the screen unless you want to come redesign my studio so the computer screen can be hanging up here next to the camera. I gotta look down at the comments. What do you want me to do? You want me to talk and not read your comments? Hurts is much better than Burrow. Well, at this moment, yes, it is. Yeah, it's eye contact, Phil. He wants eye contact. Why, I don't know, but he does. It is what it is. Phil, I feel Nick is okay. Certainly much more competent than a coach than Thompson is a manager. The Phillies, with a Doc Rivers scheduled last night, the yearly hangover game for the Phillies, which I think was really stupid and really bad. That's one of my hot takes. I very rarely agree with Spike Eskin, the son of the king. But he was going in on the Phillies yesterday for partying for winning the NL East. And I know it's the first time they've won the NL East since 2011. But most of this team has been there, done that before. They've been to the playoffs now 2 straight years, a majority of the team. The goal is a World Series. Do you really need to party that hard last night when you're still trying to get the first round bye, or you're still trying to win the number 1 seed and lock up home field advantage throughout the playoffs? And you're right there. You're half a game behind the Dodgers for the number 1 seed in the NL. Let's focus on the bigger goals. You don't need to party like it's 1999. So, little upset there. That was one of my media things this week. And Spike Eskin is coming under a lot of fire for calling the Phillies out for that. And honestly, I get it. It's a long season. You want to party. You want to celebrate. Well, if you get the first round bye, then you can celebrate for 4 straight days. I mean, I don't think, what's today? Today's Wednesday, Tuesday, yesterday. So I don't think Monday night was the night to party. And they partied the night before after clinching their division. They're clinching their playoff berth. Like in baseball, you party after everything you clinch. And I get it's a long season. You want to let off steam. I know. And I know the Phillies didn't party as hard as they have in years past. They still did party. They were still all out late at Xfinity Live, knocking down the drinks. Come on, guys. What's the big goal of this season? Winning the World Series. Not just winning the division. John Middleton wants his effing trophy back. Well, let's just get him that trophy. And then we can party like it's 1999. Cowboys versus Giants on Thursday Night Football. We'll predict that tomorrow. Everybody is jumping up and down because the Giants are only 5.5-point dogs in that game. Let me tell you something. Sneak peek tease for tomorrow. I love that Giants line of plus 5.5. Maybe I have a little Dallas Cowboys hate coming out of me, but watch out, Dallas. You might be losing another game. Sulk was a good blocking tight end. Goddard was better. Yeah, maybe. For some random reason, I have a lot of trouble remembering Brent Selleck's portion of his time with the we've gone from Chad Lewis to Selleck to Ertz to Goddard. Like, we've always got this track record of having really solid tight ends here. For some reason, I'm having trouble with the Brent Selleck memories right now. Eye contact. Bill Belichick is nothing without Brady and without being allowed to cheat. No teams wanted him. Yeah. I don't want to say no teams wanted him, Anthony. Now, I don't want him here in Philly. And I don't think he's got much left in the tank coaching-wise. But I'm sure there are a lot of teams that would have hired him. But Bill Belichick, with his ego, only wanted to go to a team that already had a quarterback, that already had a playoff, caliber roster that just needed pushed over the hump. That's what he was hoping and shooting for. Smitty is a route-running wide receiver, yet got blamed for not running a good route, or that route was not ideal for him. Interesting way to look at it there. I agree about that. It's as it was Kellen Moore's call, and Smith didn't fight through it at all. But again, to the point of Kellen Moore, why don't we give credit to the Saints defender for making the right read, breaking on the ball at the right time, and catching it? Not letting Devontae Smith fight through for it. I mean, he didn't try to fight for it too much, but you know what I mean? Like, Kellen Moore made a very good point. It was a very good defender that's been in this league for a very long time that made a great play on the ball. So maybe it was nobody's fault. Maybe it was just a matter of the Saints won that play over the Eagles. It's just something that hit me. I think a guy got swept under the rug when he said that. And it's had me thinking a little bit more about the play. Eagles didn't even earn the victory. Eagles didn't earn the victory. The Saints blew it with dirty plays. The football gods deemed them unworthy. Well, they definitely dirty, for sure. Mike Tomlin has a bunch of pedestrian seasons under his belt and doesn't get half the criticism for calls for his head. Can we just let the season play out before the fire Nick? No. Why would we want to be, realistic and why would we want to think level-headed, Peanut? Why would we want to do that? Why wouldn't we want to be level-headed? I mean, that's no fun, right? Happy to be. Oh, well, we're glad to have you. Burrow is 0-3. What? Really? I didn't know that. Baker Mayfield be like what? Be like what? Hurts is better at throwing the ball to the opponent than Burrow is. And I knew somebody would jump in with a Jalen Hurts criticism or critique at some point. I want you, Brian, to do me a little research here. I've already done it, so I already know the answer. Jalen Hurts has completed 3 full seasons. He's in his 4th full season as a starter. Okay? What did Josh Allen, the presumptive MVP through 3 weeks, this elite quarterback that everyone thinks is better? I mean, very well might be. What were his numbers like through his first 3 full seasons? Hell, through his first 5 full seasons last year as a starter. Do you know that Josh Allen through last year, his interceptions continued to go up? Do you understand that through his first 3 years, he had a lower completion percentage, a lower winning percentage, lower yards per attempt, almost the same amount of interceptions, less rushing yards, less rushing. You realize that Josh Allen was basically the same quarterback? Nobody after 3 seasons was calling for Josh Allen to be fired or cut or calling him a bust. They gave him time. And now Josh Allen's 28, and all of a sudden things are clicking for him. Jalen Hurts is 26 years old, and people are ready to throw in the towel. Yet, and I'm going to call it, you know what? I'm just going to jump into it. But yet I hear people like John Marks and Brandon Lee Gouton over on that other network, who they had to start a show to compete directly with me, and they barely do any more numbers than I do here. And they're over there saying that they'd already take Jalen Daniels over Jalen Hurts after 3 starts. Now, that's just a load of hocus-pocus bullshit. Yeah, a little bit of, I know Brandon Lee Gouton said, yeah, maybe it was a little overreaction to Monday Night Football. But let's be honest. The Jalen Hurts hate in Philadelphia is a predetermined thing that I just do not understand. Josh Allen was given 6-7 years to develop into who he is today. But yet Jalen Hurts, 30 minutes into his career, let's bring back Nick Foles. Let's go get Russell Wilson. Let's go get Justin Fields. All names I've heard over the last couple of years. And it's a load of bullshit. It's a little bit of bogusness. It's what it is. Look at Josh Allen's numbers. Compare them to Jalen. I guess you can't save stats on that Pro Football Reference page. I thought I saved it. I even set myself a link so I could pop it right up, and it just took me back to the main page, whatever. But I wrote down some of them. The numbers between Jalen Hurts from 21 to 23 versus Josh Allen 2019 to 2021, eerily similar. And guess what? Jalen Hurts at least played in a Super Bowl. Josh Allen hasn't. Don't get me started on the lesser Howie in the city of Philadelphia. I can't believe that the Phillies gave away a game when they are fighting for Anthony. 1,000%, 1,000%, 1,000%. Unfortunately, Phil, Todd Bowles is Jalen Hurts. Now, that is true, Brian. He is not. Jalen Hurts does not, and the Eagles have not figured out how to beat Todd Bowles with Jalen Hurts as the quarterback. And Todd Bowles, say what you will about his head coaching career. It's good, not great. Had some bad moments, some good moments. But his career and his defensive mind has always been pretty elite. So, Todd Bowles, And I saw stats. I didn't write it down. I figure we'll move into that stuff later in the week. But Todd Bowles' blitz numbers and when he blitzes and how often he blitzes against Jalen Hurts, it's immense. Now, Jalen Hurts this year through 3 games has shown massive improvements on dissecting the blitz. Now, it's going to be really tested, those numbers and that newness on what Jalen Hurts does this week for sure. For sure. Dude, we beat Tampa last season. Eagles versus Bengals. What? My bad, K1. I thought we got smoked in that playoff game. We lost the playoff game. We beat them 25-11 in week 3 or 4, whatever it was. Eagles versus Panthers. Are we just naming the entire schedule of the Eagles? Sure, but we beat them in the regular season. I remember Jalen Hurts taking a Carson Wentz level safety. Dude, we about to get destroyed. Well, before the season started, I did have us losing to the Buccaneers. So I don't know how I feel about that now. The Buccaneers are a pretty average team. But yeah. Phil, you got to go. Hey, have a great day. Go Phillies. Go Birds, Bruce. I hope you have a fantastic one, my man. We'll miss you the rest of the day. Tampa got bitch slapped by Denver. Yeah. I mean, when you lose to Bo Nix, come on now. Belichick will end up in Dallas next season when they can. McCarthy. That is very possible. But see, here's the thing, Duck. Actually, it'd be very entertaining. Belichick's ego clashing with Jerry Jones's ego. That would be something to watch right there. That would be something to watch for sure. Smitty's a great route runner, but he didn't run a great route there. True. Does it say Yoss? I think it says Yoss. True that. But again, as I've been saying, going off this earned versus escaped philosophy, why don't we give credit to the Saints defensive player for making a great break on the ball at the right moment and maybe give him some credit? Maybe it was just a great defensive play from the Saints. Anthony, I hope so too. It would be even more entertaining than they already give us and all. Smitty will fight for the catch, but he's just not heavy enough to fight while en route. It's a good way to break it down there, Duck. I never root Cowboys. Well, if you did, you'd be fired from the group. If Baker can't score more than 1 touchdown against the Broncos, I ain't worried. Our defense played phenomenal, and Vic Fangio. I want to continue. I want to start mixing some of Vic Fangio's comments into the conversation, and he said something real fun about Jalen. He said a lot of things about Jalen Carter. He was asked about Jalen Carter a lot in his press conference, and he said he hopes Jalen Carter set the standard for what the rest of 2024 will be like. I mean, he talked about the fundamentals and how he did certain things right and all, but hopefully Jalen Carter set the standard. Hopefully. Belichick not going to Dallas. He not to join a team with Jura meddling. Yeah, I mean, I want him to, so it'd be fun to watch, right? Baker owns us. Stop bagging on dude when you know our quarterback averages. Stop. Were you saying this about Josh Allen last year when Josh Allen threw 18 interceptions in his 6th season in the NFL? Probably not. You still probably thought Josh Allen was better than Jalen Hurts last year. I mean, he did elevate our team to a Super Bowl in 2022. Just saying. Tell me, Brian, who you want to be the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. You're probably on the same boat that thinks that John Marks and Brandon Lee Gowton think that Jalen Daniels down there in Washington is already better than Jalen Hurts. Just admit you hate Jalen Hurts. Just admit you have a predetermined thing, and no matter what Jalen Hurts does, good or bad, you're going to find something negative to say. What's up, Todd? Why do we wait until the second quarter to Saquon? So the first quarter, I've ragged on it a lot. He didn't have a single carry in the first quarter. Now, he did get 1 ball in the flat. There were some penalties. There was only like 7 plays in the first quarter total. There were reasons. But I agree. You give Saquon Barkley the ball over and over and over again. A load of hocus pocus bullshit is the name of my spirit animal. I love it. There are 31 other teams in the league to root for. You don't have to. Look, I'm fine with Brian having criticisms, Anthony. I really, truly am. And if he doesn't like Jalen Hurts, that's fine. But I want to know who he wants in replace of him. And I want him to answer, about, Jalen Hurts does have actually in his first 3 full seasons a better track record than Josh Allen did in his first 3 seasons. I want him to address those things. Yeah. Baker is a very average. Look, the Buccaneers offense and defense is very average. He sucked last week. He did. Dark Brown. Baker is on his 4th team in 6 years for a good reason. Look, I give credit to Baker Mayfield. Just like Geno Smith. Career going nowhere. Career going down the toilet. More commercials than wins. More sponsorships than wins. But Baker has found a way to reinvent himself. That's what he's done. And he's found a way to hang on. And I give Baker Mayfield all the credit in the world. What happened to my mouse? There it is. Back. Yeah, we don't disregard Jalen Hurts' turnovers like most Hurts apologists. Besides 2 turnovers, Jalen Hurts was a great game. Jalen Hurts won the game for us. He carried us. He helped us win the game. And Brian, I've said this now. Every day you bring up negative Jalen Hurts stuff. I see both sides of the equation. The problem I have with you and your opinion on Jalen Hurts is you're not willing to look at both sides of the equation. You've got these, what are they, the horse things that they put up, the blinders on racehorses. You're only looking at one side. I see. He's got to be better. You cannot long-term win losing the turnover battle week in and week out. It is not sustainable. But I also look at all the great Jalen Hurts has done as well. And I try to find a middle ground on this conversation. And answer the question, who are you taking over Jalen? And I see the next. Baker is not a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. That is the most ludicrous thing. That is almost, no, it's not as ludicrous as John Mark saying he would take Jalen Daniels over him. But it's ludicrous. There is no world where Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback. And yes, Baker Mayfield and the Bucs may beat the Eagles on Sunday. And it still doesn't mean that Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. Ludicrous, Brian. You're trying to make me pop a blood vessel this morning. How many Super Bowls has Josh Allen played in, Dark? And Super Bowl isn't the end-all, be-all. Okay? Because there's a lot of quarterbacks that didn't play in a Super Bowl. And there's a lot of bad quarterbacks that did start in Super Bowls. So you know what? It's not the end-all, be-all. There's no world where Baker Mayfield is better than Jalen Hurts. You're just trying to say things to fire us up. I don't fanboy players like you do. There's no fanboying from me. I see it as it is. So tell me, who you would really realistically prefer the Eagles to trade Jalen Hurts for Baker Mayfield? And that's the most ludicrous. If Howie Roseman called the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and said right now, yo, I don't know who the GM is down there. Yo, Todd Bowles, I'll give you Jalen Hurts, but I want Baker Mayfield. You know what the Buccaneers would do? They would literally pop champagne like they just won the Super Bowl. Literally, instantaneously. Because they know how much better it is. I have a dream that one day my quarterback won't be judged by the color of his skin, but by the content of his stat sheet. Brian, you are just it's good. This is going to devolve a lot today. Todd Bowles will continue. Todd Bowles has exposed Jalen Hurts very regularly. And I predicted 2-2 going into the bye, Brian. I went win-loss, win-loss. That was my preseason prediction. Doesn't mean I think Jalen Hurts sucks or anything like that. Phil, you know we don't have enough people on YouTube to fire anyone from the group. Just put him in the corner with a dunce cap on. No, the show is where all opinions matter. As long as he does not make, offensive, comments, I'm not offensive towards Jalen, really bad things. As long as he doesn't say bad things in general, everybody's opinion is put up on the screen, Doc. That's what makes this show so special. Everyone's opinion matters. Now, we just don't have to agree with his opinion. That's all there is to it. And as long as we don't attack him personally, and as long as he doesn't attack us personally, hey, it's all in good fun. It's just an opinion. The difference is we don't have to agree with the opinion. Brian might be the Matty B burner account. Now, he's not saying anything negative about Howie Roseman. I don't know if it's rant, Phil. Is there burst it blood vessel, Phil? Is that a thing yet? This is even worse. Jalen Hurts hates us fans because he keeps giving us the ball to our opponents. Stop. Wilson, Ross, Dotson, and Campbell. Wide receivers versus Tampa. Clifton. Does it say Clifton? Yeah, Clifton. The green around your name. It really makes it hard to read at that time. I think the signing Jack Stoll to the practice squad means that maybe AJ's trending towards playing. And let me throw that out there. Question for everybody. If AJ Brown is 85, 90% good to go, I think the Eagles will play him. But the question is, should they? Would you rather 85% AJ Brown with a bye coming up, or would you rather go with what Clifton says here? Me personally, I'm rolling with what Clifton said here. I'm relying on Saquon Barkley, and I'm going to go with the lesser 4 wide receivers to protect that hamstring, to make sure that hamstring is 100%. That's what I would do. Run 2 tight end sets, a lot of handoffs, a lot of passes in the flat to the running backs. That's what I would do. But I'm not making the decisions. They say the first dozen players are scripted, and I think they wanted to test the pass game against the opponent. Yeah, I agree. That could have had something to do with it. Gino never got any progressive commercials either. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. We're just ignoring the Eagles defense, put the Saints in a blender all game. Look, I've got I got 4 lines on Kellen Moore's press conference. I got half a page on Vic Fangio's press conference, okay? And everything here. All right? I want to talk the defense. I truly do. Jalen Hurts' turnovers kills any good he does. It's fine. And look, Jalen Hurts has turned the ball over I can't speak this morning. Jalen Hurts has turned the ball over far too much this season. Far too much. But we're still 2-1. Okay? And we have to hope that he levels it out. Baker's going to have a Geno Smith-like career. He will probably end his starter career and be a backup for several years. Yeah, look. I give him respect. See what I started? Yeah, you started something all right. Clean up on aisle Phil. Yeah. I'm not claiming Super Bowls. We didn't win. Look, Super Bowls aren't the end-all be-all in evaluating a player. I get that. But still, there's no world where Jalen Hurts is not better than Baker Mayfield. The only reason Jaden Daniels is having so much NFL success, he's played 3 games, first of all, Joseph. 3 games. Is because there's no NFL tape on him yet. Exactly. Just like CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud's hitting a little bit of a wall. No world can you put Jaden Daniels over Baker Mayfield at this point. You could say there's potential there, but man, John Marks, I know you're my competitor. I don't want people tuning out of this and tuning into him. But what an idiot to say you take Jaden Daniels over Jalen Hurts at this point. This year, and the question was, you have to answer it based off of this year and going forward. There is 0 chance you take Jaden Daniels over Jalen Hurts this year. And there's not enough information to take him going forward. None. You're just saying that. And you know what? What he said worked. Because here I am bitching about him on my show. Idiot. A lot of great quarterbacks went to the Super Bowl and never won one. And a lot of bad quarterbacks, Mike, Jeff Hostetler, Trent Dilfer, Brad Johnson, won Super Bowls. So, yeah. It's a shame that Barbara is not on right now because that was her exact take yesterday on quarterback in Super Bowl. Yeah, exactly. Phil, I would eye contact. At least he can read it. Oh, my goodness gracious. Not jumping off the Jalen wagon yet. Bro is a winner, takes accountability, and clutches up. I like that. Clutches up. Marcus, I love that. I love that those 2 words. He clutches up. We have a tendency in Philly to bail on the quarterback. McNabb is still the best in history and got the hate for half of his time in Philly. We're an unhappy fan base. No, not on this show, Marcus. 98% of the show. There's like 2 or 3 people that watch the show regularly that have that negativity. We have fun on this show. We keep it light and fun. But yeah, we're not bitching and moaning about somebody. We don't know what we're doing. it can't be Matty B's burner because there hasn't been a single. No, the 69 reference. That's Mitchie Poo. Okay, Mitchie Poo's the one that makes the 12-year-old jokes. Brian, Jalen made adjustments at the line the entire game. Just stop regurgitating media talking points. Yeah, like I kind of feel like Brian must be like Mike Missinelli's burner account or whoever, Spike Eskin or one of those guys' burners accounts. Also, we forget about Goddard, 170 yards last week. I love Dallas Goedert on the Pat McAfee show. I could give or take the Pat McAfee show. His love affair with Aaron Rodgers is kind of annoying. I love how Pat McAfee has blown up into something so big with his show. I would love a big studio like that with a team of players. I would love to do 3 hours of what Pat McAfee does all the time. It would be a blast. But Dallas Goedert goes on the show. First off, dropped some great quotes. Big Dom, the fans, Jalen Carter, Sirianni, everything. Looks like he just rolled out of bed. His hair's like all over the place. He's kind of like got a dirty T-shirt that he wore to bed the night before on. Dallas Goedert on the Pat McAfee show was a sight to be seen yesterday. I loved it. Loved it. I'd rather hold AJ out until I agree. Yas, 1,000%. 1,000%. Hamstrings, I say it all the time when we're talking baseball with the Phillies, when we're talking Sixers. When a player has a hamstring injury, I always err on the side of caution. And holding him out one more game gets him 2 more weeks of rest. I err on the side of caution over and over again. When he wasn't gopher, he was a worm ball thrower. Yeah, but he also did more with less, Donovan McNabb. And you're talking to one of Donovan McNabb's player, Donovan McNabb, not post-career Donovan McNabb, one of his biggest fans. I love Donovan McNabb in here. What media talking points? He keeps turning them for the ball, and he keeps winning. Again, go look, Brian. If you don't believe me, go on Pro Football Reference and look up Josh Allen's turnover numbers. They actually trended up through 6 years of his career. 10, 12, 14, 15, 18. And now look at him. You're not willing to give Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has played 3 years as a starter. He's in his 4th year. Most quarterbacks don't even hit their prime till they're 27, 28, 29 years old. Not everybody's Patrick Mahomes. Nobody's kicking out Justin Herbert. Nobody's kicking out Josh Allen a few years ago. No one's turning on Joe Burrows. Nobody's turning on all these quarterbacks that haven't fully hit their peak yet. Well, Joe Burrow had, and he's actually on the decline already. That's another subject. But Jalen Hurts, God forbid, that he gets a moment to learn and figure it out. Yes, we did. I did not boo. I wanted. Don McNabb was my choice that draft. Not Ricky Williams, not Tim Couch, not the dude from Cincinnati, Achilles Smith. No, Don McNabb was my pick right there. And that I'll stick to that. I love Vic Fangio's pressers. I do. 100% love it. Calling out guys like, there's something about Vic Fangio here. I'm just going over my notes here. I know I still got lots of comments. I still got all 4 ad reads, but and I got a catering order to get to work today, so I can't go long today. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson yesterday. He was asked about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's personality and his play on the field. And he was so glowingly positive. But then Vic Fangio, without being questioned, pivoted in the middle of talking about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, said, but, hold on, what's the word? He's got to be careful. He used those exact words. He's got to be careful. And he's got to control that. And just things like that. Admitting, Brandon Graham, when I got to camp, I didn't think Brandon Graham was going to be anything but more than a victory tour. But then a week or two into camp, I'm like, this guy can still go. Not mincing words when he talks about these guys. Why did Ringo come in and not Isaiah Rodgers? Well, Ringo was better in the moment coming in for a short amount of plays. If it was to start a game or early in the first quarter, Isaiah Rodgers would have been put in so he could have eased himself in. That tells you where both players are with the Eagles, and their skill levels. Overall, Isaiah Rodgers is better than Ringo in his opinion, but Ringo's better suited to pop in a moment's notice. Those little things there that he gives you, I love it. So does Mahomes. Yeah, everybody turns it over. If Jalen Hurts stops turning the ball over, we would stop being so critical. But he can't. You probably were critical of him, a year and a half ago when he was, or a year ago when he wasn't turning it over. The Mahomes and Hurts comp. I can't. Nobody's comparing the two of them. Mahomes isn't even in this stratosphere. Yes, there are people. John Marks, former #1 rated drive time sports talk host, 4 years, and Brandon Lee Gouton, I guess the founder of Bleeding Green Nation, on YouTube yesterday, competing directly with me. The thing is, John Marks and Brandon Lee Gouton have to spew nonsense to compete with my morning show. I'm the originator of the daily YouTube morning show, the longest running, the first daily YouTube show every single day. They got to spew nonsense like that to get the clicks. Not me. They're spewing nonsense saying that Jaden Daniels is already better than Jalen Hurts, that they would already take him over him. Nonsense. Placing the greatest quarterback in Eagles history, Dougie P. and Rodney. Okay, so you can't say Rodney P. No, that's not his name. He will always be Rodney M.B. Pete to me. That's what my brother and I anointed him. Rodney MVP back then. And also, he married up with Holly Robinson. If you don't know that, Holly Robinson's his wife. Yeah, he won there. Recency bias is a thing, 100%. That's something that needs to be addressed. Your oppositions are elite professionals, new schemes, and Jalen will find a way to win. Yeah. I'm disappointed that we have to depend on Barkley to be Superman because Jalen Hurts can't get the passing game going. No, Kevin, what's up? 10-1 last year. Can't trust them. I know. Yeah, we're going to forget about that part of the season. I watched your show every morning, Phil Coffee. Hey, I appreciate it. I watched your show every morning, Phil Coffee. Phil Coffee. Yeah, hey, man, I appreciate anybody that supports, man. I do. Pat is the Joe Rogan of the NFL. I hate it. Look, I hate it too. I mean, I love his setup. I love the style of his show. I just can't stand his. Really, my biggest issue with Pat McAfee is his relationship with Aaron Rodgers, basically. And the fact that he actually pays him to be like that. It's entertaining as hell. He really is. And give me that budget and that money, and I can make this show even more entertaining. I could do this show for 4 hours with his budget. Jalen's got the intangibles. Yeah, sometimes he can be annoying, but he owns it, never puts the blame. Yeah, dude, he's a winner. Dude is a straight winner. He is. What trade our wide receivers for draft picks? All we need is Barkley and Goddard. But stop. Mister's going to ask me to hit the under today because of stuff like that. Hold AJ, Smitty, Lane, etc. out to give them the extra rest. Like, I don't think there's any chance Smitty and Lane are playing. It's almost impossible to come back after 1 week with no after concussions like they took. One thrown up, one knocked unconscious. Looking for the rookie to get an interception this week. He's getting close. Quinyon, yeah, absolutely. Quinyon Mitchell, I got to go back in my notes, but I have notes here. You know, he's tied for the league in forced interceptions already as a rookie. In 3 games, he's given up 8 completions total. Quarterbacks targeting him have a 69 quarterback rating. He's got 4 pass breakups. Look, Quinyon Mitchell's playing good. I think I predicted 4 interceptions for him on the season. Mahomes has 4 picks this year, and the refs have thrown the flags on a few others to save him. Absolutely. And we've seen Jalen Hurts take unnecessary hits, and they don't predict them or protect him at all. To get coffee and skip Bayless hot takes. Yep. We still on the turnover stats versus record. No, we're comparing Josh Allen to Jalen Hurts today. Again, another day trying to talk Eagles defense, talk Jalen Carter, but no. Nobody wanted Ricky Williams at 2. I didn't. Going way over today's lads. We are not going over. You know why? Because if we go over, then I'm going to have to sue you all because then I'm going to miss out. So if I need a lawyer, I call David R. Cherry, the Cherry Law Firm, whether it's workers' compensation, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, or criminal law. I call David R. Cherry, the Cherry Law Firm at 610-565-0300 or go to cherryinjurylaw.com and let David R. Cherry fight for you and get you what you deserve. He's the best in the state of Pennsylvania. Again, David R. Cherry, his number is 610-565-0300 or go to cherryinjurylaw.com. See, we hit the under today. That's what Mr. gets. Mr. loses his bet today. Oops, I forgot to take the picture off. I'm just leaving the picture up for an extended period of time. He's going to have to pay us extra for that extra 3 seconds there. Vic has tons of conversation with CJ. I can tell he's keeping him on the track, but our defense has some attitude. Love it. Yep, absolutely agree. I, too, am an addict of the Devil's bean. Yeah, I mean, look. Josh Allen's 6'6", I think, 240 pounds, and he has a cannon for an arm. I get that. But look at his turnover numbers, Brian. Are you you want to talk turnovers? Look at Josh Allen's turnover history. It's not pretty. You clickbaity too, Philip. Again, thanks for the Philip, okay? Thanks. Is doing better without it's. I got into a joking argument with somebody yesterday. It's like, yeah, Josh Allen's Josh Allen had to lose his best receiver to get better. Maybe Jalen Hurts has to do the same. And I'm like, no. Let's not start that argument today. Jalen Hurts needs to get some representation from the slander from Brian. Yeah, absolutely agree. Damn it, you guys have me wanting coffee now. Yeah, I don't have coffee. I have an espresso today. Can't figure out still after all this time why my espresso machine leaks regularly. Josh Allen is a choker. Josh Allen's a damn good quarterback, but they gave him 6-7 years to develop. I remember seeing Hy Robinson Pete on the South Street at the South Street Acme doing grocery shopping. Did they really? I didn't know that. That's funny. He definitely married up 100%. Rodney MVP. Trade Nicholas John Sirianni for a better equipment manager. Oh my goodness gracious. What grade would I give from this past Sunday? I'd say a B minus. I'm a little more of a positive, but it wouldn't be any worse than a C plus. The 2 turnovers were bad. Well, 1 turnover was really bad. 1 was iffy, but he did help lead the game. He look at his numbers from the 3rd and 4th quarter on. They were phenomenal. So you got to give some credit for what he did good. Give him some credit for what he did bad, and you calm it out. Yeah. Yep, we got lots of David Archerry bombs here. We'll just page through all those. What the hell? I'm glad somebody noticed that. Kept flipping that back and forth. For anybody that missed it, this is what I'm doing. This is the regular ad, and I just kind of throw that in there. See if anybody notices the little extra ad on there. Where's the David Archerry with the stash? It's mixed in. If you missed it, sorry. There's a little mix in there. I've been adding a little something extra there thanks to Big Al. Hurts was not a CC. I mean, C plus, B minus, C plus, B minus, B minus, B. Or if you say C plus, B minus, or if you said B plus, A minus, you're basically saying the same thing. The plus and the minus, it's the same thing. It's a matter of perspective. It's a matter of, looking at it positively or negatively, in my opinion. I think C minus Mitchie Poo is devaluing what he was able to accomplish in the second half, especially the 4th quarter of the game. Yeah. Give compliments to Al for that. I gave Hurts a B minus. He had over 300 yards and led an amazing drive to win the game. The interception was his fault. The fumble was bad. The fumble is the only thing that puts him at the B minus or the B minus C plus, in my opinion. For sure. That's what I would say. Can we talk something other than Jalen Hurts, though? Let's talk about Jalen Carter for a little bit. I kind of hinted already at some of the things that Vic Fangio said about him setting the standards, about him, setting the standard and the trend for 2024. How good can Jalen Carter be? And how good or how much can he build off of what he did last week? I mean, that was an all-pro performance. That, like, what he did last week could and should be able to be, I don't want to use the word multiplied, but I don't even know what the right word for it is. But you should be able to build on it. Yes, I went from Jalen to Jalen, just so the name still's there. So the name's still ringing a bell to people. Like, he should be able to build upon it and be even better. Like, if he plays consistently like he did last week, like, that's what all pros are made of. That's what defensive player of the years are made of. And I think, just like he talked about how Brandon Graham's Brandon Graham's play is and should be sustainable. I think Jalen Hurts is sustainable. And I bring him up because also you saw after the game, Jalen Carter, talking trash and flapping his gums and getting all fired up on the sidelines, and Big Dom and Nick Sirianni trying to hold him back. And then you had Chris Long on his podcast, or a podcast he was on, talking about, not holding him back after the games. That they go to war and let him let that steam off. As long as he's not fighting people, let him let that steam off. As long as Jalen Carter can control his emotions in the game, which is tough for him to do. I want to see Jalen Carter have that emotion after the game because, again, it was a war on Sunday. Again, this is why we're talking escape versus earn. The Eagles earned that victory, okay, because of guys like Jalen Carter, Saquon, Barkley, Dallas Goedert, Jalen Hurts in the fourth quarter. They earned it. And Jalen Carter fought, it was like he went through Gettysburg out there. One of the most hard-fought games we've seen in the trenches in years in the Eagles. Of course he's got steam to blow off once the victory. And Chris Long didn't like it that he was being held back. Now, some of it was trying to make sure he doesn't get in trouble and go out there and punch somebody. But you got to hope Jalen Carter's smart enough not to do that. The way Howie has compartmentalized the coaching staff will be the new norm in the NFL. Nick is basically the first of many CEO-type coaches. I don't know about that. Mike Tomlin is. Dan Campbell is. Pete Carroll was. Bill Belichick sort of was. Just so you know. Mitchie Poo is right, C minus. He didn't get more than 69 on that test. Don't encourage him, Duck. Has to be considered. And look, again, I'm trying to talk something else, and here we are back to Jalen Hurts again. I'm not trying to say Jalen Hurts isn't consistent or it doesn't need to be more consistent. But one or two mistakes a game don't totally ignore all the good that he did in the game. Trade Nicholas John Sirianni for the high school football coach, brother. Not the little league baseball coach. He gets it from his quotes from him. Carter's nasty, but he backs up that nasty with a dominant presence on the D-line. Attitude is the number one attribute. Attitude for defensive tackles and offensive linemen is so important. They do all the dirty work. I hope they all get affected by that. Infected with his attitude. For sure. Barbarians like Jason Kelsey took down the Roman Empire. Do we acknowledge him? I'm trying to read this note. What? Why? Oh, that was just him making a joke. What does that say? I can't even read half my notes sometimes. I think I covered most of what he had said, actually. Better front. He talked about Reed Blankenship and how good he was. Reed Blankenship's actually having a really good season. Bryce Huff, he tried to deflect on the Bryce Huff, Vic Fangio, which is unlike him. He'll be mixed in when the scheme and the game plan calls for it. Yeah, Jalen to Jalen. Back to Jalen. It sounds like a lawyer commercial that you would hear on, the radio, on sports talk radio. There's probably a law firm out there called Jalen to Jalen to Jalen. It's probably a law firm's name. Mahomes and Allen are the best players on their teams. Jalen is not even top 3. That actually says how bad their teams are. Mahomes' team is trash. They're winning because of the rest. Josh Allen's team is not very talented overall. So because the Eagles have great players everywhere on the team, it's Jalen Hurts' fault. Again, no matter what I try to do, we're back on Jalen Hurts again. Jalen Hurts is consistent. Consistently turns it over. See, I know where you're going with that. I love Mr. Carter energy, but he needs to not go after the fans. Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know what you want to say to him. But what I do know I want to say is I want to talk about real quick, guys, SherryTickets.com. If you need tickets to an Eagles game, Phillies playoff game, concert, theater tickets, go to SherryTickets.com. Family owned and operated since 1946. They are the best place. Great prices, no hidden fees. The price you see is the price you pay. And check this out. If you go and buy tickets there, go to checkout, use promo code EOP10. You'll save an additional 10% off their already great prices. So why would you go anywhere else? And why would you overpay with the rest? Save with the best. SherryTickets.com. Again, special promo code EOP10. And guys, check out PhillySportsTrips.com. You've seen all the videos from Brazil, from New Orleans. This is the premier travel team. If you want to go and travel with your team, go to spring training, go to an Eagles game, go to a Union game, go to PhillySportsTrips.com, sign up, mention EOP trending in the AM. They are the best. They put together some phenomenal travel packages, especially to see the Eagles on the road. They got a trip up to New York to see the Giants and Saquon Barkley's return home in October. The Dallas week, November 10th. We're going to march into Dallas, whoop some cowgirl ass, and go back to your hotel room and watch the Yellowstone Season 5 premiere, and then come home. Guys, make sure you check them out. And, of course, the bus trip to Baltimore in December, guys. PhillySportsTrips.com. Make sure you mention EOP and trending in the AM. Phil, there's a hurricane headed to Tampa. I wrote it down. Hurricane Helena. It should be past Tampa in time for the game. I think it's – I was actually looking at the storm track. I think it should be past it. So I got a friend that's getting married in Jacksonville on Saturday, and the remnants should be past it enough so that they're expecting sun on Saturday night in Jacksonville. So it should be clear. So because it's going to hit, the Panhandle and the Gulf Coast, then it's going to go up through the states. It should be clear of Florida in time for the games. I don't think they're going to move the Eagles game. I think they'll be fine. Now, the Eagles might not be able to travel as early as they like down to the game. They might have to wait till late Saturday to travel down there, which might be an issue. They might be a little tired. They might be a little jet lagged or whatever, for the game, but it is what it is. I'm surprised that we aren't talking more Reed Blankenship. Our team's avoiding CJGJ and picking on Reed. Is he taking advantage of the opportunities, and does that change the way teams game plan now? Look, I've been critical of Reed Blankenship overall. I've always said he's a good safety, not a great safety, but he's played exceptionally well. I think I read, if not number one, number two, graded safety and coverage this year. I believe he's got 2 interceptions on the season. Reed Blankenship's playing great football so far on the back end of our defense. So Chauncey Gardner-Johnson brings that personality, that edge, that punch you in the mouth type personality. Reed Blankenship just stays there and does his business and gets the job done. He's got good feel for the game. He's got good hands, obviously. That was a really tough interception to seal the game on Sunday. I think we always talk about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson because of his mouth and his chirping. But CJGJ is tied for the lead league in missed tackles as well. Let's not forget about that. That's something else I want to. I don't remember. I didn't write this down, but I remember reading a stat a day or so ago. The first 2 weeks the Eagles were, I think it was something like 20, 22 missed tackles between the first 2 weeks. They were missing tackles left and right. They only had 3 missed tackles last week. One was Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, but they cleaned that up as well on Sunday. So, yeah, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is going to cost the team sometime with his shenanigans and instigator on the field. Yeah, and that's something like I said, I was talking a few minutes ago, Barbara, about Vic Fangio's press conference, and he was asked about Chauncey, and he was complimenting Chauncey. But again, why we love Vic Fangio is because of his honesty, and he clearly, he was complimenting. He's like, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson does this and that. Then he said, but he's got to be careful to watch that. It's one thing Jalen Carter chirping after the game on the sideline, pointing across the field to the Falcons or the Saints. It's another thing when Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's doing it on the field. And I love that Vic Fangio sees the good, but also the risk there. And that he's got to be controlled to an extent where he doesn't let it cost us a game. Now, you're right. It might cost us a play or two here or there. But do you live with that? That's the tough one. It's not like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is out there, at least we're winning games. Like, you got Micah Parsons, and everybody loves to talk about how Micah Parsons wants nothing more than to be an Eagle. Micah Parsons is out there on podcasts after getting beat again by Baltimore. I don't know if you saw the play where Lamar Jackson just juked Micah Parsons out of his shoes, I think they're still picking up his jockstrap off the ground. Yet he's out there after losing to the Baltimore Ravens, trash-talking Chauncey Gardner-Johnson for some reason. We don't play you till November 10th. Maybe the Dallas Cowboys and maybe Micah Parsons should shut their mouths and focus on their team and their opponents and not be worrying about what the Eagles are doing. For Micah Parsons, definitely put some bulletin board material. So the Skip Bayless hot take of the day, or the Skip Bayless clown of the day, is Micah Parsons chirping about the Eagles and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson when they're out there getting their asses whooped. Get out of here, Micah Parsons. Now I don't want Micah Parsons on the Eagles. I don't. There's my hot take of the day. I don't want him around here. Devin White knows Todd Bowles' defense hurt should be taken. You know what? And I don't think we talked enough about Devin White. I tweeted about it in game. There was a huge play from Zach Bond early in the game. And Devin White, even though he's not dressed over there, pounding on his pads, firing up Zach Bond, pushing him. Devin White, Fred's pissed off, and Devin White is pissed off that he's not playing. Let me tell you something. Devin White is not happy that he is not playing. Okay? But Devin White is not letting that stop him from being a good team player, a good teammate. And I think this is great that you bring up Devin White, mister. You've had some bad takes today on Jalen Hurts, but it's great that you're bringing up Devin White. And yes, if Devin White is that team leader that he's claiming to be and we're perceiving him to be, Devin White might have a big influence on the offense this week on helping dissect Todd Bowles' defense. Definitely something there. Well, good to hear that Fangio knows about it. Fangio is very blunt when he speaks. Very blunt. And that's what you got to love about him. Yeah, I can compliment a player for good, but I can address the bad as well. Absolutely. It turns out Parsons is a clown. I mean, he played a bad game against the Ravens. They got smoked by the Saints that we just beat. But he's out here chirping about the Eagles, who you don't play for like 7 weeks. Know your role, Parsons. Shut your mouth. If you want to quote me on that and tell Micah Parsons I said that, clip this out and send it to Micah Parsons. Know your role, shut your mouth, and don't act like you want to be in Philly anymore. All right? We don't need clowns in Philly. We don't. Parsons has always wanted to be Eagles. Barkley as well. That's not good to have players wanting to be on other teams. He's always wanted to be an Eagle. He's cared more about being an Eagle than actually playing for the team that pays him. And he's a great player. Let's not beat around the bush. Micah Parsons is a great player. But, there was one play that Lamar Jackson put a juke on him, and he almost fell. Well, I think he did fall into the line, and he bounced off a lineman or something like that. He got juked so bad. I think Micah just checked out of Big D. I think he did, K1. I think he's checked out. I don't think there's anything down. And look, I'm calling out Micah Parsons for being a clown. But honestly, obviously, what team wouldn't want Micah Parsons on them? They had a chance to draft Parsons, but didn't. I remember that. That was the Devontae Smith draft, right? And I love the pick of Devontae Smith. But that draft, I remember, that was the year we traded up. We traded back, and then we traded back. We traded back with the Dolphins, picked up a first-round pick, then we traded up again. I forget how that all played out. There was a bunch of trades that year leading up to and on draft day. And I remember saying I would trade. I remember doing it. I think that was when I was still with All About the Birds. I was, for those that don't know, I found it with Johnny and Jeff, All About the Birds. I was part of the original team there. And I remember doing the draft show that year and saying I would trade as high up as 6 to make sure we get Micah Parsons. Then I followed that with knowing how he would never do that. And then Devontae Smith was a great pick anyway. But I was huge all in on Micah Parsons in that draft. I thought he was going to be one of the best players in that draft class. How many interceptions do you have Jalen Hurts throwing this year? Oh, my goodness gracious. Still on that. How's it going, Stevie Fuentes, my man? The Union Coverage Man of the Year. If there was an award for best Union coverage, it would be Stevie and Patty, a.k.a. the Gobbler, a.k.a. Pat from Ambler, a.k.a. the man that doesn't stop eating, and my man Stevie Fuentes. They would win the award if I was voting for best Union coverage and best Union podcast there is out there. The attacking third. And how am I doing this morning? I've got a pounding headache and a blood vessel about to pop because of the Jalen. I'm trying to talk Jalen Carter, but all I'm doing is talking about Jalen Hurts hate on this show. And even though I got the stats, that's all I'm doing. That's all I'm talking about. But it is what it is. Like, I want to sidetrack. Let's stop talking about Eagles for a second. Well, let me go through a few more comments first. What if the Cowboys lose tomorrow night? Dude, I said it already, Barbara. I'm teasing because I predict Thursday. I'll predict the Thursday night game. The Cowboys are only 5.5-point favorites over the Giants. It's Thursday night football. It's in New York, New Jersey. I think it's something like 75% of the time the home team wins Thursday night football. Giants might win that game. I'm not sure what I'm going to predict yet, but I'm tending to lead towards a Giants victory. I'm just thinking about it. 19. You know, Josh Allen threw 18 interceptions last year. Nobody said Josh Allen needed to be fired or cut or was bad quarterback. Just so you know. Phil, how many games do you have Jalen Hurts winning this year, since that is what actually matters? I predicted the Eagles to win 11 games. I said 2-2. I said win, loss at the bye, and then going on a run after the bye. I'm sticking to it. Well, I actually might predict an Eagles win now. Eagles game plan offensively against Tampa has to be run the ball and control the clock. Absolutely have to. It eliminates the blitz, and it gives you an opportunity to protect your wide receivers that are going to be weak. Yeah, I had a great stash action going today, or yesterday, or today and yesterday. Look, I want to sidetrack. Guys, you're watching Trend in the AM right here on Edge of Philly Sports. If you haven't hit the like button or subscribe or follow or share button yet, please take this moment to do that. Like, shares, subscribes, follows. It's free to do. It's free to support. It's free to help this channel and this show grow. I greatly appreciate it. I got the Eagles 11-6. Yeah, that's what I've had since day one. Just win the Super Bowl. That's all that matters. Have you watched the first episode of Penguin? No, I have not. I have not watched the Penguin yet. I also heard that they're not going to. He doesn't want to do a second season of it because of the costume. I appreciate the. Hey, no problem. Why doesn't Joe Burrow get a? Why does he get a pass? Yeah. I get it. I got you, man. I understand that. All right, real quick. I want to get on a little side tangent, anti-Eagles. Something came up yesterday that I'm really torn on, okay? Really torn on. Mikey Mushinelli, now the midday host, comes on at 10 o'clock on 97.5, the Fanny Pack, called out Connor Thompson, Jamie Lynch, who wasn't there, but whatever, and other Eagles or Phillies reporters that were in the locker room for the NL East clinching party, getting drunk and taking selfies and celebrating with the Phillies players. Calling them out, saying that was unprofessional and that's not how they should be doing business. You know, there's a picture of one of them wearing the ski goggles just like the players. And I'm torn. I'm 43. I'm older. I grew up with Whitey. I grew up with Stan Hackman and Phil Jasner and a very certain professional level of media reporting. It's a new age of media reporting. And, you know, times have changed. Should media guys and girls be partying and celebrating with the players that they cover, and they're in the locker room every day with these guys? Should they be celebrating and partying with the players like the players are? And he laid into them. And the thing that made him lose his credibility in the argument was the simple fact that, you know, he called out Jamie Lynch, who actually wasn't there. He was doing his post-game show for his channel from home, clearly. Not even from his studio. So that hurts his credibility in his argument. But should media members be enjoy it? Because it's a grind. It's a grind covering a baseball team for 162 games. Literally 5 months of your life, 6 months of your life is dedicated every year to being on the road and traveling and being in Philly and being at the game every single night away from your family, your kids, etc., etc., etc. Is it okay? And yeah, I see your comment, Barb. True, fine, fair, whatever. I've actually never had any interaction with Connor. I barely know who he is. I've had a smidge of interaction with Jamie Lynch, whatever. It's a conversation about how to act as a media member. And, hey, it's why I'll never be a true media member. I'll just be one of these guys that just talks online. I don't want, well, I kind of would think it'd be cool to be a media press guy at least one day. Just to be able to say I got that press pass and go in there and ask a question, but I don't want that for me. It's weird to me because growing up as a kid, that would have been a no-no, 1,000%. But it ain't 30 years ago. It's 2024. It's not 1987 anymore. And I'm just curious what people think about it and why it's okay or not okay to act like that. I'm trying to give you a little eye contact right now. Joe Burrow, bleached head has leaked into his brain. I've already made that joke like 14 times already this week. Yeah. If the players don't care that they are celebrating with them, then why not? Well, the question is, can you be objective as a media member covering them if you're also best buddies with them? And that's the point I think Mike Missanelli wants to make. That it's not professional. You can't stay objective because Mike Missanelli's been objective his whole career, right? You know, he objectively blocked me for no reason, whatever. The thing is, Steve, it's can you be objective and still be pumping champagne with them? Some of them were literally chugging champagne bottles that were from the locker room. I think there was Connor Thompson and somebody else there that were getting a lot of flack. Mike unjustly said it was Jamie Lynch. It wasn't Jamie Lynch. I don't even know who the other one was. They were literally drinking the same champagne, popping the cork and chugging it, and taking videos and taking selfies with the players. They had the ski goggles on. They're basically just acting like they're part of the team. And yes, some of them were getting hammered. So I think it's, can you be objective while doing it? Is it, again, that's what I'm asking. I'm torn. Me 25, 30 years ago would have said, and my dad would have said, yeah, it's unprofessional. But it's 2024. Times have changed. Is it really unprofessional? Yeah, I've had a few small interactions with Jamie. He seems like an okay guy. I mean, he's part of the competition, another online brand that's got big money backing them. I get it. I already put that up. So is it, the question is it unprofessional then? Sports journalism is going the way of normal journalism in this country. There are very few that hold to the old school rules. And that's the thing. You know, it's not, the old school way is just disappearing. And I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I'm not a media member. I'm not a journalist. I'm a content creator. I would have a hard time being objectively reporting from the party. I'd want to be taking selfies with the players because I look up to these guys. These guys are my heroes. They're your heroes. They're people we look at, you know? But I also understand the old school way of doing things. That's how I was grown up. That's how I was raised. You know, I remember a job I had one summer in college. I don't know if it was the Hilton on Penn's Landing or the Hyatt. It was the Hilton and now it's the Hyatt, or it was the Hyatt, then it became a Hilton. I don't even remember. I worked there one summer, okay, in their bar. I was like a bar server. I worked the bar / serving the tables around the bar. And it was the bar that all visiting baseball teams would stay at when they'd come to Philly. So I got to wait on Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, every big-name baseball player that would come back to the hotel after the game to have a bite to eat and a drink. And it was a rule of the job. You had to sign it. Look, you can't ask for autographs. You can't take pictures. You know, I was on cruise ships for a little while. We had a few B-level celebrities stay on my cruise ship. I couldn't act. Now, it was a different day and age. There weren't smartphones. If you wanted to take a picture, you had to pull out one of those self-disposable or digital cameras and do it. But there are rules of how being professional around famous people. Same thing with the media in the locker room. It's a new era of media. Guardian of the Guard. I do a sports show where we speak as bluntly as possible, drink beers, and cuss. It's as real as it gets. Yeah, I get that. It's okay to change, and that's why I'm not against it until times have changed. It's okay to change. Things change from generation to generation. It's really tough for me to find what I feel about this. I don't know if he was smashed, but he was definitely chugging champagne in one of the videos. I mean, one bottle of champagne would have me smashed too. Enjoy the atmosphere. Yeah, I see. I'm torn. It's one thing to cover, but to participate is crossing the line. Phil, maybe it's an age thing. Connor is young, same age as the player. Maybe that is also part of it. It is, and that's the thing. There is no line anymore, and I think it's an interesting topic because when we talk Jalen Hurts, it's hate or love. There's a very fine line here, and none of us really truly know what the line is. And I forget, somebody said it above. There's too many comments to page through. I think it's up to the players maybe, or the team maybe. If the players are okay with it, I guess it's okay. But how can they objectively I don't know. It's something I've been torn on since I saw this information coming out yesterday and Mike Missinelli's rant and whatnot. Are the waitstaff at weddings supposed to party with the guests? It's unprofessional. It's unprofessional to party with players. They're there to report, not participate. Yeah, look, I remember the first time I saw Barry Bonds sit down at one of my tables, and I had to go up to him and say, I didn't even say Mr. Bonds or Barry. I just said, sir, what can I get you to drink today? And I don't even remember what he drank. He was actually a really nice guy. Very reserved, very quiet kind of guy. But I was like, look, I'm looking at Barry Bonds. This is before the steroid scandal, before he was put on trial and stuff like that. He probably just whooped up our asses in that game. And I had to serve him a drink professionally. It's just one of those things. Did the waitstaff covering the wedding and couple for months takes tell of Harry and Whitey drinking alcohol all through the broadcast of games, and nobody said, boo, that's true. The difference, I brought up Whitey and how professional he was, or he partied, and someone's like, well, they worked for the team. I don't know if they worked for the team or not. They worked for the telecast channel. Was the head huge, swollen up? It was getting pretty huge, yes, at that point. The planners are there for months and months. So are the coordinator. They don't party with the guest. Yeah, look. It's just an interesting conversation, guys. Talking about drinking, talking about partying. If you need a drink, if you need a place to party, go check out Dolan's Bar, 24 East Sellers Avenue in Ridley Park, the #1 quintessential Irish-American dive bar for the last 65-plus years in Delaware County. Go in there, check it out. PJ and the crew. Great food, great times. DolansBar.com, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. You know it. Go check them out. Make sure when you go in there, you let them know. Trending in the AM and Edge of Philly Sports is where you heard about them, guys. I don't think the staff covered the wedding and the bride and groom for 4 months leading up. Look. I don't know where I toe the line on this opinion. I think my biggest issue with it, yeah, have a great one, Barb. We're about to wrap this up anyway right here, is the fact that when Mike Missinelli tried to call them out for it, he got the wrong people. And he was calling out people and made him sound like a curmudgeon because I think there's some bitterness between Missinelli and Lynch for something that happened back in the day. But whatever. I have to, and you got to give them food and stuff like that at the weddings as well. This day and age looks for more real than fake. Transparency is key these days. I think it's a fair statement, Rick. It is. And that's why I'm still on the fence on which way I lean. I would have a hard time if I was in the locker room being totally professional and not want the high five, or chest bump, with Garrett Stubbs, or do a shot with Alec Bohm. I would have a hard time. I would have a hard time going up to Nick Castellanos and go, yo, put a shirt on. Nobody wants to see that. I would have a hard time with that. Life is too short to be that serious. It's a huge accomplishment that these reporters witnessed all season. And that is also, they're there every day. Their lives are dedicated around this. They want to celebrate too. But the public expects objectivity. Weddings is a little different. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Weddings are a little different. Anyway, guys, I'm glad that conversation got us off the Jalen Hurts hate for a few minutes. But we got to wrap the show up for the day. Reporters shouldn't be shills. I think it's a fair comment, actually, that we could dive into, but it's wrap-up time, guys. Trending the AM right here on Edge of Philly Sports. Guys, please, it's free. Hit that like button, share button, subscribe button, follow button. It doesn't cost you a thing to do it. We'll be back tomorrow. Eagles will probably practice today. We'll probably get our first injury report of the week. We'll probably learn more about Lane Johnson, Devontae Smith, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll talk more Eagles. We'll see if the Phillies clinch a first-round bye or not. I think it's society that's been lied to long enough. We want real. Shave the beard. I'll go to the stash. I'll go with the porn star stash. But we got to have a reason first. You guys got to come up with something. I will go stash of knowledge. That is right. But we got to come up with a reason. That's it, Ryan. Can you properly report in an objective fashion if you're part of what you are reporting? Look, I think I should have brought this up earlier in the show because we could have really gone off on this. Maybe bring it up again tomorrow, and we'll continue this conversation tomorrow for a longer period of time. Thank you very much, Rick. Thank you very much, Duck. Thank you very much to everybody tuning in. Even thank you to Brian for bringing the Jalen Hurts hate to the conversation today. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. For Edge of Philly Sports, I am Phil Stiefel. Ring the bell. Go Birds. And bubbles up to y'all.